Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to show y'all how to make this dragonfly wire wrapped pendant using one of the lampwork glass beads that we sent out in our June craft along kit. We're going to start with the unboxing. I'm going to show you a little mini project for making just a cute little like donut bead style pendant, or if you make two of them, that's earrings, and then we will get into the beef of it and we will make, oh my god, I'm gonna have to make some dragonfly headdresses. Okay, let's get started. So while our kits are not required to follow along with today's tutorial, I did want to take a moment to show y'all, if you do get a kit, what you can expect in it. But there is a full list of the different tools and materials down in the video description, so that if you want to assemble from your own personal collection, or maybe go shopping on our website, or something like that, it's a good starting point. So our kit that I would recommend for if you already have a lot of wire, like or if you're very particular about what wire colors you use, or if you're not even that into wire wrapping but you like our cabochons and want to use them in your own macrame or chainmail or beading or polymer clay jewelry, our $15 kit is the one for you. And here you can see this will include one of our tile style cabochons, where we do like little stack puddle melts, one of our frit cabochons for this month in a beautiful honey amber tone, and one of our homemade lampwork glass beads that is perfect for wire wrapping into just a real simple design like this. But we will be going over a couple of different ways to utilize them today. And I just love making these. You can see them be made live every Saturday from, well, currently it's 5 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, but always keep an eye on our website, backtoearthcreations.com, to see what our current streaming schedule is, because it's always evolving. So our next kit level up is the one that I recommend for folks who are interested in getting into wire wrapping, but you don't really have a lot of cabs or wire. You might have like some, because this one comes with one spool of the 18 gauge titanium wire that we're sending out in this month's kit. And this is the same wire that we used on that bead that I just set down. There it is. And so with the kit, you will certainly at least be able to make this style of bead wrap, but also you can use the 18 gauge wire to make a variety of bezel settings or wire wrap settings for the other cabochons as well. And there's enough wire here to wrap all of these, as well as do a couple of other projects also. And there will be links down in the video description to other tutorials that utilize 18 gauge wire. But what's new to this kit, you get the wire. Oh, I'm just throwing stuff. This kit, you get the wire and a beautiful shimmering dichroic glass cabochon as well. So for the next membership levels up, and you can see there's some variation, in the size and colors and textures of the beads. New in for this kit, for the $35 kit, you also get just one spool of the 18 gauge titanium, one of the tile, one of our honey frit. But, oh, this is another style of bead. Each kit is going to have a different bead, so that's a lot of fun. And even whenever I try to make them to like look the same, it's kind of tricky. So they're each very unique. We also have this kind of fiery orange and yellow frit style cabochon, and then the $35 kit also gets you one of our puddle smash caps, like this one here. And this is another variation of the dichroic glass that we send out. Now our $45 and $55 kits, these are the ones for if you plan on doing a lot of crafting and you really want to build up your cabochon collection as well as your wire collection. These are the kits for you, because they come with two different sizes of wire, a thick and a thin. That way you can branch into wire weaving as well. And we try to send a different gauge or metal tone or even shape of wire each month. So hopefully if you're a member over the full duration of a year, you shouldn't be getting any duplicates of the different wires. And so that way it can really help build up, a wide array of different wire colors and gauges for you to work with in your own pieces of art. So here you'll get 2 of our tile style, which I just love that color, you guys. It's so like sunny and nice, and I love the little honey drops, and then the little, that orange and yellow. The camera just doesn't do it justice, but we're trying. Another one of the beads. Here's another variation of our stack puddle melt. It has kind of some agate-like bands in them, and then this one you actually get 2 dichroic glass cabochons. And again, it will not be, your kit won't be exactly this kit or exactly this kit. It'll be an amalgamation of, your bead may look like this, your dichro may look like that, your puddle smash may look like this one. So I hope that that makes sense to y'all. And then over here, the $55 kit, this one is the biggest bang for your buck because you are getting just a bunch. I should do an itemized countdown of how much we would sell these for individually on our website. But you get 3 of our dichroic glass, 2 of our puddle smash, 1 of our beads, which, this one might be my favorite. Let me know in the comments which one your favorite is. 2 of the tile, 2 of the honey drop frit, and 1 of the bauble of sunshine. And then also those 2 wires. So this is what you can expect in your kit. Please let me know if you have any questions, and also if you're ever missing something from your kit, or if you have any questions or anything like that, any problems, please let us know, because we can't make it better if we don't know that there's something wrong. So sending pictures of what you've received, like if something's broken or missing, that can be really helpful to us to know what we need to send you a replacement of. Now also, that being said, what is not pictured here is one of our stickers that our talented niece Maddie draws for us each month, as well as a 20% off coupon on a little card that has like a QR code that you can just scan it and it will take you right to our website, where we will have this video linked, as well as hopefully like previous months' videos and stuff. And so yeah, that 20% off coupon, the accompanying project video, I think that's everything. So let's get to crafting. I want to start by showing y'all how to do a very simple beginner-friendly wrap on the beads that we sent out in our June kit, and that we also have for sale on our website, backtoearthcreations.com. Now on these ones, the inner diameter size is 3/16 of an inch. So you could do this with something with a smaller size, but you'll just have difficulty fitting as many wires through the bead. And on our website, we do have an option where you can order custom beads, and that link will be down in the video description. But it's just backtoearthcreations.com /custom beads or something of the sort. But you can place an order, and in that you can choose which mandrel size you would like your custom bead to be made. And we make the custom beads every Saturday in our lampwork glass live streams. And this is a great design because it only uses just a bit of wire. So this is one of my favorites actually for, I've lost my wire snips. Give me a moment. I found them. What were we talking about? Oh, you can choose the mandrel size for how large you would like the inside of your bead to be. But yeah, you can go to our website, and right under our bead shop, there's the custom lampwork glass beads. So yeah, it's backtoearthcreations.com /custom beads. We got that right. And now you could use a pen or a knitting needle or just whatever you have on hand. I'm using about 1 foot, 12 inches of wire, and you can choose your bail size. This one we did, it looks like 8 millimeters. It's a little tighter, but that's okay. Let's do this one on the 6 millimeter segment of our bail, or of our mandrel for the bail. And so I kind of want to find the center, but offset just a little bit of our wire, and I'm just going to wrap twice. Ooh, though this might look really nice. Let's go ahead and do a third wrap just to add a little bit of variation, keep it spicy. And I like to come through and do a bit of a twist. There's once, twice, and thrice we have twisted. And this is going to keep our bail holding its shape as we come through. And I'm going to use, this is a different bead that we had made. Similar concept though, or you could use a donut bead or anything like that. And I'm just going to slide this through the center of our bead. And I'm going to bend forward right there. And my hope is that we can smush that upright so that our bail is sitting like this. When in doubt, smush it out. And now I'm going to just thread this wire through this side. And I do like to use my pliers to grasp the end of the wire and then pull, because whenever it comes to, you know, skin versus metal, my fingers, my fleshy human hands, are not going to be able to pull the wire as tight and as tense as what I'd like it to be. So I'm just threading back through, and here in the middle I want to make sure that I'm not like going like that and making knots out of it. I just want the coils to be stacked beside each other. I'm going to grab right there and then holding like this, just pulling nice and tight. And the wire that we send out in our kits is very durable, so it holds up well even through all of this kind of misuse and just pulling it through with disregard. It does great. And so I've reinserted my mandrel, and I'm going to put this on the table, and I'm going to bring that up. And now we could use the flat of our hand, but I'm going to use my nylon jaw pliers, and I'm just going to smush down on top of it. Again, it's that whole metal versus human hands. And I don't want to, you know, crack my bead, but I'm not too worried about it. We make pretty strong beads, but you do want to practice discretion. But if I were using like a donut bead out of a gemstone, then that may be a little tricky. Like I certainly wouldn't do that on a softer stone, or, you know, something that has some natural fracture lines in it. But I just want to push our bail so that it's kind of centered on top of our bead. And I'm going to bring the wire up a little more on this one, because here we have the spirals very toward the front, whereas on this one I kind of want to do the spirals just there on the shoulders. And so I'm going to take, and I'm just going to use the width of my middle finger, just something to keep it consistent between the two wires. And even then I didn't really cut them perfectly. It didn't have to be. You could use a ruler if you want specific measurements, but this is around, well, I've lost my ruler as well. Heck. It's, well, I've got one here on the edge of my table. It's about 3/4 of an inch, or 20 millimeters perhaps, in length. And I'm going to be using my round nose pliers, and this is an 18 gauge wire. And I just want to take as close to the tip of the wire and as close to the tip of my pliers as I can. I'm going to risk zooming in a smidge. Please pardon my stained up hands. I've been doing a lot of tie-dyeing and it just doesn't scrub off. I really need to be better about wearing my gloves. But I'm just coming through and gently encouraging that spiral around. I want to make sure that I'm not squeezing so hard that my pliers bite my wire. And I'm just placing that kind of on the shoulder. If this is the head and this is the body, it's there on the shoulder of the piece. So just bringing that in and bringing that spiral in like that. We do have a whole master class, a free hour or so long video here on YouTube as well as our website, where you can deep dive into making spirals if you'd like more practice. And so, whoop, ho, I caught it with my tummy. So this is kind of how that comes out. You can choose whichever side you prefer for the front or the back. And then I also do like to come in, you could use your fingernails or your pliers, And I like to add just a little bit of a spread to our bail. And I think that is a super cute, fun little pendant, which is a great way to wrap the beads in June's kit. Or anything that you might find, really, with a hole that's big enough to thread it through. Oh, like if you ever go like creek bed walking or anything like that, and you find some like really cool stones with natural holes in them, this would be a great way of wrapping that too. Though again, with natural gemstones or natural just found stones, you'll want to be gentle with them because they may have fracture lines. Though the more you craft, the more you'll be able to trust your own intuition and gut feelings on these things. So the main project for today's video is I want to troubleshoot out making this design with y'all. And we're going to be using one of the lampwork glass beads from June's kit. We do, again, I think I've mentioned this, but we do have some of the beads for sale on our website, and you can always order custom, but and you can change this up with anything that you might already have in your stash that can be accommodating. Now I'm going to be using the 18 gauge and 28 gauge that was included in the kit. And we have, yes, I did some layers in here. So this purple line that we've got going on is representative of the 28 gauge wire, and I was going to experiment with making like little wings like this using stickers that I printed out and this UV dip resin. But since the wing stickers are not in the kit, and since I wasn't able to include stickers or resin in the kit either, that will not be part of today's tutorial, but I will be having a separate video about that. But so the idea here though is that inside each of the sticker wings we'd have a little bit of that 28 gauge wire coming through. That way we could incorporate it into the weaving. So I'm just going to ignore that part for now of the design. And this brings us into we get to make our little wings. And I'm going to modify the design just a smidge, just a touch, because there's going to be two layers. Our first layer is going to be this one here that comes up into the we're going to start with the bend down here and then travel up and around. We're going to go through the inside of the bead, and initially I was planning on having just a little loop that we'd be able to attach some chain or necklace cord or something to, but I think what we're going to do instead, and I'm using the app Procreate to do our sketching today. And let's see, I'm going to do, our fine tip. That should be just fine. And I do have the layer assist on, or drawing assist, so it'll be symmetrical. So instead of doing the little loop off the top shoulder there, I'm very interested in, I'm going to take this down because I'm trying to just plan the path that our wire is going to be taking. And I'm tidying that up. But I think it's important to share the design process with y'all because I'm really interested in getting this figured out for myself. And sometimes you just don't know how things are going to go until you've done it. So we do have that big hole in our bead, so I'm going to have this come back through. And I'm worried about it getting messy. Though we may do connection points there. We may have it just be a bend. We'll have it go through the bead. So again, sharing the unfiltered thought process with y'all, and I do hope it's helpful. But we're going to have those wires come through, and this is going to come up, and we could do where we do like little itsy bitsy spirals is something, or if we don't have it come through, we could do a really cool kind of that away. That'd be neat. In fact, let's go with that. Though for stability's sake, we may have this travel through the bead. Like that. And I'm thinking perhaps we come in no, I think I liked it better on the squiggly. Womp. And then the next layer is this one here, which I thought would be kind of cool. And instead of having this wire come in, nope, I duplicated the wrong layer. Which that kind of looks like, I don't know, some sort of sea creature. So we duplicated it. I'm going to remove one of the layers because I do want to keep the original design. And I'm going to clear that out. And from here, I think we'll come down parallel here. So and that'll be cool because I think that kind of makes me want to do this one a little different then. And it's so nice, you guys. You don't have to have a digital app. You can do this with pen and paper. But I really love being able to just only have to draw it once, and then it gives me something that I can kind of trace over with my wire. Let me remove this other layer because, there we go. A little messy sometimes. So that's coming up and through, and then we'll bring this way. I'm still gonna have it cross through the center, but we're gonna bring this up, and yeah, we'll do like that. I think that ties in well together. And you could do whatever spirals and different shapes and things that you want, but I think this is going to be really neat. Oh, and I just had another idea. And so we're going to duplicate that layer, erase that, or hide that one. That way it's still there, because now we can flip through and pick our favorites. So we could come in down here and do like a squiggle or something. Nah, I like it the other way. But there's really, this might be your favorite. That one might be your favorite. You might like just leaving it hollow and filling it in maybe with beads. Oh, that would be so neat. So do not feel like you need to follow along with what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I just wanted to provide you with a framework to help you get started, because sometimes just taking the dive into a project, for me, can be the trickiest and most daunting part of it all. So there's that. Oh, but I did like those little wings, or the little what do you call them? Antenna. So let's see, maybe we can make another layer, and I'm gonna have it be assisted, and then we'll have this come in, if there's room, and just have our little whoop, come through like that. So that'll be one wire, that's one wire, that's one wire, and that's one wire. And I'm going to hide our little wangs. So we're going to start with the beads. Let's go pick out our bead. So we have our bead. And I really like the digital concept because I can just zoom it down to the correct size. And then let's start with, I'm going to do the antenna last. I'm going to cut the two lengths of our 18 gauge wire, and I want to give myself way more wire than what I think I need. That way we've got a little bit of wiggle room. So I'm going to do two 2-foot lengths. And you could also use like a 16 gauge or even thicker would be nice. In that way, if you want to hammer it or do anything fun like that, you'll have the your wire can be accommodating of what you'd like to do. And so let's get that pulled back up. And I want to see how these two wires sit in relation to each other. So we're going to do a bend in about the center of it. I am going to set this off to the side. And I will have this image uploaded to our social media, like probably on our YouTube channel or something. That way y'all can either print it off or trace it or do whatever you like to be able to, you know, have it for your own resources. So I'm going to do a pretty sharp bend. Oop. My wires are getting away from me. And I'm going to place one kind of inside the other. And I want to do some weaving with our 28 gauge because that's it's the weaving that's going to give us a whole lot of a really cool structural support and keeping everything bound. So I have pulled off 10 feet of this 28 gauge wire. And as always, you can use whatever metal tone you like if you're not following along with the kit. With the supplied wire, I like the antique copper with the silver because I love mixed metal tones, but also it's going to give a little bit of contrast, so hopefully you'll be able to see what it is that we're doing. So I'm just going to pick one of the wires, and that's going to be our bottom wire. And I've folded our weaving wire in half, and I'm going to come all the way down here to the end, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and I'm going to smush it. So that's 15 coils, or about 6 millimeters, and I'm just sliding it down our core wire. And I'm going to bring it here, and I'm going to kind of push it with my thumbnail while encouraging it with my other thumbnail. And I just want to get that around so that it's surrounding the tip. And I really like trying to keep the bend there, whoop, nice and equal, like equally distributed. And so then I'm going to bring this in like that. We're going to set that right there. And you could choose to do the inside wire first, and that would look like this. Ooh, and that looks pretty cool. But I don't know. Let's see what kind of variation. I'm going to commit to doing it one way, but I'm really interested to see how y'all end up doing yours. Now the difference here is this will give us if we want the toothed edge on the inside or on the outside, and we'll see shortly what I mean by that. So I'm going to do 2 wraps around both of our core wires. And I don't want to make them too tight. Fortunately, it's pretty forgiving with the 28 gauge. We can kind of get in there, and there's 1, 2. This is one of my favorite weaves in the world, you guys. 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to go 1, 2 around both. So what we've done is we have those 5 coils around just one of the core wires, and then 2 around both. And that shows off the silver, which I think gives it a nice pop. And it's going to be holding our situation together. So I'm going to do 5 more, that's a nice finishing spot for me. Like, I like to finish it on it being bound off. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And what I mean by finish it, I'm not done. I'm just going to be flipping this over to start working on the other side. Because you can see, ooh, everything's still wobbling around weird. And so I want to get everything kind of locked down first. So it's get that around both wires. There we go. There's one. And oh, you can see my wire just tried to kink up on me. That's okay. These things happen. So I'm just going to reach through and wow, pull it through. There we go. 2 wraps around both. And now we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we give it the old smushy squish so that everything's nice and tidy. And then we're going to do 2 around both, 1 and 2. And then smushy squish. We're going to do those 5 to kind of bind it off. And I do this because I don't want this to get pulled apart and us lose the tension in our weaving. So there's 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now that those are stabilized together, we can come through, and this can get a little cumbersome, y'all, so again, be very patient with yourself. I'm going to use this section of my mandrel, and I'm going to bend 1 wire at a time. So there's 1 and 2. Trying to keep that center line. I want this cross to be happening. It's centered up with our points. And so, and you can do that free-handed. You don't have to use a mandrel, but oh, I do like using mandrels. So I am going to grip it quite firmly with my finger and thumb, and I'm going to bend back this way, and then I'm going to grab this wire, still holding quite firmly, and I'm going to come through. Now this, y'all, I do not consider a beginner project. It's fun, and I love it. I don't consider it a beginner project, and that's okay. So now we have this going on, and we could totally try, oh, bend in, yes, like this. Oh, I think that's neat. Oh, I think that's real neat, actually, except for this wire is like on top. So let's see if I can't gently try to sneak it behind the other one. And so now we've done that little bit of like a crissy-crossy. Oh, that's cool. And so now from here, we can kind of decide if we want to continue this repeat of the pattern. I'm going to do just one more, and this gets tricky because, well, now that's a closed loop, so we're going to have to sew it. And I prefer to push my wire through just a little there in the center, and then to pull it through, because my wire is so much less likely to kink than if I were to do it this method, which is reaching all the way to the end, sewing it through with the tip of the wire, and then I grab it and pull. So you can do either way. Well, actually, that turned out pretty nice. You can do yours either way. There's no right and wrong way to do this stuff, y'all. It's just whatever makes you happy, whatever you like the look of, and whatever you like the feel of. So I am coming through and squishing it nice and flat with my flat nose pliers, just to try to keep things from shifting around. And now I'm going to come in here. We did those 2, and I'm going to wrap around. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And here we could do another stitch across, but I kind of want to leave that space nice and open. So I'm going to continue weaving up through this area, and I'm going to do this in real time with you guys because I understand that, you know, a lot of y'all already have this down. You know, you've been wire wrapping for a while, you know, you're very craftily inclined, and I think that's wonderful, but my heart is always with the beginners, and just in case I miss something, or just in case there's something that can be helpful to a beginner, or to someone who, you know, there's things, I've been wire wrapping professionally since 2008, and there's still things that I learn from watching tutorials, just of people just doing their thing, things that they don't think to say out loud that are helpful to me, like their hand position, like how they're gripping, you know, or, you know, they'll bring attention to something that's been a weak spot for me that I didn't even know I could improve on. So you never know what you might learn. And I enjoy getting to hang out with y'all and stuff. So I have no idea how many coils that took, but I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to squish it, and I'm going to just fill that space. 3, and I'm just following around. And I keep my wire off, like, to the sides of me. Like, I'm going to zoom out, hopefully you can see. But, like, I keep this whole, like, 5 feet of wire just off to the left side of me. Fortunately, my cat is taking a nap, and then I keep the whole, all of this wire off to the right side of me. And I try to keep my craft spaced where I don't have things to tangle on either side. Stuff still gets tangled, but take it one stitch at a time. And before you know it, you'll be chugging right along. So I'm going to do like just a few more because I want to start our weaving pattern again on this side, but I'm not going to do that until we've caught up. I just want to get this into position. 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to flip it over so we can see what it looks like on the back side, and I think that's pretty good. I can always add more stitches, but we're at least where I'm happy to be. And I'm going to flip this over, moving this wire all the way off to the left and moving this wire all the way off to the right. So now we can push our wire through the center, and we're just going to repeat this on this side. Now you can put me in like 2 times speed. You can definitely feel free to jump ahead to the next step. So by all means, you do you. Live your best crafty life. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3. I'm going to hold this. Again, trying to keep things as much out of the way as I can. Like here, how this is crossed, that's going to make me wild. So I'm just going to bend it out of the way to clear the path for me to be able to get around, womp, up in between. And we're just going to keep wrapping that way. 2, 3. I am going to count them this time. 4, 5. I'm going to relax my hand. There we go. 6, 7. And if I'm recovering from an old hand injury still, I think I'm recovered, but there's the trying to prevent is always there. So I'm just going to use my nylon jaw pliers, trying to grip just only as loosely as what I need to. So I'm only gripping, you know, very gently. And then there's 7, 8, 9, 10, each time bringing those coils down to where they're flush up against the previous coils. I think this is 11. In today's episode of Can I Count? Stay tuned to find out. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And now whenever I press this down, I press and then I kind of cinch just a little bit to keep those things nice and tight. So just, I think that's 21. This is approximate. 22, 23, 24. I'm going to swap back out for just my bare hand. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Now, That's just an approximation, you guys, because yours is going to be unique to your hands and your tools and your preferences. But there's always somebody wondering, so that's why I get that information. Whether we use it or not, the data has been acquired. So if you've got any empty spots, and you can see this stuff's hard on my nails, it's already starting to wear in, but that's okay. And I just think that looks so cool. So now we're here. Well, what do we do now? So I'm gonna, no, flipping it's not gonna do me any good. I'm just gonna move on to the next step, which is going to be, I'm gonna shift this wire off to the side because I'm gonna be working on the section that's facing me. Whoop! Oh, got stuck in my fan. That startled me. I've got a little clip-on fan down on the floor, hoping it'll be out of the way of like where the camera picks up on its sound. Okay, so I'm gonna go, our wires exiting right there in between these two wires. And so I'm just gonna go around both of them. There's 1 and 2, full wraps around. And then I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to do around both. So there's 1, whoop, and there's 2. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm just going to do 3 on each side. So 3 repetitions of the pattern, 1 and 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's how that's looking. And I'm going to flip this over. And let's take a look at where the positioning of the first stitch here is kind of in line with this coiling. So to just for symmetry's sake, for trying to, kind of keep everything going, I'm going to continue adding a few coils to this side until we're in line with this line. And I'm sorry, my wire keeps tangling on the tripod. Because, I mean, this is, it almost looks like a little, like, deer face or something with an outrageously huge rack of antlers, just wide. So those little deer antlers are getting hooked on everything. So just coming around, and now I feel pretty good about, I think that's pretty in line. And I want to prep this wire here, just running my fingernail along it just to get that bend straightened out, because I'm only concerned about the section where our wires are going to be, this inch or 2 on each side where the wires are directly interacting, because otherwise it's all going to get bent up and weird anyways. So if it's getting weird out on the ends, don't worry about it. We'll deal with that when we get there. Like, don't put it through a wood chipper or anything, but try to keep it as tidy as you can, but don't stress it. It's fine unless it's not. So we've done 1, 2, and then I'm actually going to flip this over because I prefer to work from this angle. So there's 2, 3, hooking around that end, 4, and 5. Trying to keep things nice and tight. And there's 1 and 2 around both. And then 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we're going to do 2 around both. And I'm going to show you all something because it's, oh, my inclination is to just rush through this because my gosh, every single stitch. So sometimes I really just want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's technically 5 coils, but then whenever we squish it down, see how messy that is? And that's why I don't do that. Now with this 28 gauge, you can kind of cinch and squish things down, so that may be a route if you want to risk taking it, but I prefer not to because whenever I rush, all I do is hurry myself into more problems. Sometimes it works out. That time it worked out pretty great. It doesn't always. So you walk your own path, but that's the potholes I've stumbled in a time or two. So now we're here. We're doing this. It's looking pretty cool. And I'm ready to do our next shaping. So I'm going to, just using my fingers, I'm grabbing with, if there's the hardest point of like bringing the tips of your fingers together, I'm grabbing where the wire crossing is right below that. So I want the hardest point of my fingertips being clamped together to be what I'm wrapping around. And I hope that that makes sense. You could use a mandrel or something, but I like this technique personally. So I'm just bringing that around, that nice little curve, and I'm placing my fingers back into place, and then I'm grabbing this side and bending around. Now you can see that is not perfect, but it got us started. And we can, did I not do the same amount? It really doesn't seem like it. I mean, I did, but I didn't really, So sometimes the math doesn't add up, and I'm just going to do another repeat so that it looks correct on this side. Oof, how do I get in there? Okay. With these tangly antlers. There we go. And so I'm going to go 1 and 2 around both. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to come up and around. There's 1 and 2. Now I haven't actively decided which side is going to be the front yet, but I think it's developing that I like this side as the front. So there's 1, 2, and now 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we've done that, and now I am going to just bend up and bend up, keeping that same twisting pattern kind of consistent, but I'd like to do 2 twists this time. Just like that, and I'm going to kind of smush them quite firmly with my pliers. You could hammer these if you're into that. And I'm going to coil this. Coil, coil, coil. Well, actually, I don't know that I am. I'm going to coil it a little because this is where we're going to be. We're coming up now into this part, and we're going to be doing coils to attach this wing to this part. And I just want to be able to do that. And so if I have the coiling there, it's going to keep it from looking like rough, maybe? It'll give us something to splice into. So and I'm not really counting, I'm just going to give myself like a measurement. Like I'm shooting for like a centimeter. And I'm measuring from this point right here, the center line of our piece. And I'm eyeballing it. So this is like the roughest, loosest, worst measurements on the planet, y'all. So it's, if you want good measurements, please use a ruler. I never use a ruler hardly, and I'm always a little like, it could have been tidier. So you get out what you put in. So that's a very loosey-goosey Von centimeter. And we're going to flip it over and we're going to do that same thing on the other side, but my wire is sticking out in a weird spot. So instead of just crossing over and starting coiling, which if you do that a bunch, it starts to get really messy and really weird really fast. So it looks like I'm going to come through and I'm just going to sew it through in between right there to just get the wire to be on the correct side. And I like to keep my fingertip in the hole, that way it doesn't get kinky on me. Like the wire doesn't get all kinked. There we go. Alright, and now I feel like I can do our coils comfortably. Coming around. There's that one. And there's that one. And there's that one. Not really counting, just, oop, got tangled, that's okay. If you catch it happening, just course correct before it's too much of a problem. Just coming down. And I want to get this from this angle to where it just looks symmetrical. I'm not saying the stitches out loud because I can almost feel my friend Yvette counting her crochet stitches, and I know that always throws her off. But I don't want to, muck up your stitch counting if you're working on this piece alongside of me. So just continuing that same pattern. Ooh, we're getting close, y'all. We'll be there in no time. Now, do not feel like this is a race of endurance or anything like that. Well, it is a marathon more than a sprint, but don't feel like you have to keep up with the video. Please feel free to hit pause. Please feel free to take breaks to set down the project and walk away from it if you're becoming frustrated with all the tangling and getting stuck in a tripod. So yeah, I like the way that's looking. So now from here, this wire, I want to be traveling with that one, so I'm just going to bend it around. And don't forget, we can always add more wire. Like we can add more coiling, we can get this figured out. And then this one right here, I want to be following this wire. So I'm going to grab it and just bring it around. Oh, I think that looks so cool, you guys. We're going to kind of try to keep that center line straightened up. And now I think we start crossing through the bead. In fact, I deviated a bit. We were supposed to like put the bead on somewhere. I think I'm going to put the bead on these wires. So I'm going to thread through this one. And I'm going to thread through this one. Okay. Is this going to work? I don't know. Oh, that's going to be so cool. Okay. At least I hope it's going to be so cool. I'm excited about it. Either way. Now the nice thing about having this, I mean, you can see that's a very large hole in the bead. We could probably make do with a bead with a smaller hole. But that's okay. So I think from here we can start I think I'm going to bring this wire through on this side. And I'm going to try to curve this so that this thick wire doesn't kink on me. There we go. And then I'm going to bring this wire through on this side, but I want it to be kind of behind these other wires so that there's not too much crisscrossing over each other going on. And y'all, this looks like a complete and total jumble. I'm just trusting the process. Oop, and there we go. Oh no, I goobied up that right there, that crisscross. I don't know if it's become apparent, but I did not do a prototype of this design before we got started. So now I'm going to hold quite firm right there and pull down on that wire and then pull down on that wire. So we can get this to be tidy again. I'm just kind of holding it tight and then cinching down. There we go. And again, if we had hammered that, it may have held a little tighter. And there we go. And I'm coming through and just straightening that out with my fingers. And I'm just returning back to my home position of all those left wires going off to the left and all the right wires going off to the right. And these bottom two are going to be our wings. And so I want to come down. And you could measure and mark. That is what a wise crafter would do. I'm not gonna, because I don't know where my ruler is, and I'm just gonna bend. And so I'm gonna kind of, now, did I hold it here and bend? Yes. So if I'm holding my pliers and thumb, I want it to be the same on the other side. And what I mean by that is I want my pliers to be on the side that's moving, and I want my thumb to be on the side that's stationary, and that's going to help me to get a matching bend, more or less. I'm just eyeballing. I like to use my hands to measure, so it's, I mean, a smidge more than a finger width. Oh, that's a pretty fair smidge more than a finger width, so I'm going to come in a bit more, and wish me luck. Boom. It's lopsided, but that's fine. So now from here, I'm going to come down. I'm going to pull both of our weaving wires kind of up and out of the way. And I want to do our next bend kind of in line with this little coily bit. And so again, I'm going to hold my pliers off to the moving side of where our wire is going to be bent. And I'm putting my thumb directly against that, and I'm just bending kind of up. And I'm moving it past our bead, and I'm going to move it up just a little more. Now you could base your wing shape on literally anything. There's no rules around this, y'all. Okay. And every time I flip my piece over, I just reposition those troublesome wires off to the side. I'm kind of going in line across. Right there, I think, will be good a spot as any. And I'm going to press my thumb up against it, and I'm going to bend. And I'm going to, there we go. Sometimes things are beautiful because they're not perfect. And sometimes they're so lopsided that it makes you wild. And when that happens, it's okay to redo your work. So I'm just going to open that back up, give it the old squishy smush with our pliers. I love Parawire specifically for this purpose because it does a really good job of straightening out, and then I move down a bit and I rebend it. And that's within an acceptable margin of error as far as being symmetrical goes. For me at least. You do you. And from here, before I do any more bending, I want to get this weaving done. So let me clear some of my pliers. I don't even know what that was. Out of the way. Oh, stay tuned for future tutorials. We're going to be doing something like this maybe. And now we have this wire. I'm going to be working on the right side wing. And I'm going to just bring that wire around so that on the back side, do you see how it's just cutting straight across? And now I am going to sew this one because I'm just going to go 1, and then I'm going to press it up and through. Uh-oh, got a kink. That's okay. When kinks happen, I just like to get my thumbnail in there and open it back up and kind of smooth it out. So there's 1 stitch and 2 stitch, making sure I'm not tangled around any of our other wires. And I'm just pulling that through. There's 1, 2. I'm going to continue in the same manner. 2, and then making sure our coils are stacked beside each other and not backtracking at all. And there's 3. Just pushing that loop through. And there's 4, pushing it through, and there's 5, feeling pretty good about that. And now I'm going to coil 5 times on the wing wire. So there's 1. And sometimes it can be real tricky to get your wire in there. And this is where I like to use my bent nose pliers. And I'm just going to get them in there. And I'm holding tight enough that I can catch the edge of the wire, but not so tight that I can't scooch my pliers on the core wire. So I'm just going to hold this and I'm going to press that down. This is an instance where I would worry that my wire may break, and if that happens, it happens, and we'll splice it in. Sorry, I do not mean to wander out of frame. So there's 2. Bringing that around. 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to bring those pliers in again in that same way and just squish that down nice and tight. I'm going to do 10. So there's 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I'm going to grab and squish those together nice and tight. And I'm going to leave that like how it is, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So want to flip our piece over, move those wires. And it might be coming up on break time, y'all, because this gets a little intense. And I think it's really good and healthy to like stretch our hands, stretch our shoulders. Okay. And now we're paying attention to where our wire is exiting from. So I'm going to stitch it through here. Before we bring it through right there. So there's one. Trying to keep those wires side by side. Grabbing that and pulling it through. And then this will be 2. Grabbing that, pushing it through. Whoop. Keeping those coils around both wires sitting just nice and snug next to each other. 3. 4. Oops. And then I'm going to try sewing this one just to see. I never know if I prefer one method over another from different angles. Now see here where that twist is, that would have ended up being a bit of a knot, so I'm just going to untwist that and open it back up and then keep pulling. Perfect. And then I want to complete that 5 full wraps, so I'm going to finish it through the back side like that. So that's 5, and then I'll need to do the 10 coils here. But to do that, to get my wire positioned that it's not crossing over funny, I am going to sew it up through this spot right here. And this is going to be tricky because my wire's all kinds of non-compliant. There we go. Getting that loop open, pulling that down. There we go. So there's one. We can make sure that it's nice and positioned, checking from both sides, because sometimes there'll be a side that it looks nice from, and then the other side it's like, oh, I didn't know it was rough. So we just tighten that up. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. There we go, give it that squish. There we go. And now I'd like to do the spiral that fills in on the inside. And so I'm going to grab about 3 inches away from where those 5 binding wires were with my finger and thumb, and I'm going to hold this very stable, but I'm just going to bend it down and then back up a smidge. And that can be tricky to emulate, but again, I'm going to take the bottom wing wire and I'm going to hold it at the same place and the same place, and then I'm going to bend down and then back up, and hopefully that'll have given us a similar bend angle where now we can do like 5 more stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the reason I'm doing 5 more stitches is because I want to come up to where the wires are actually parallel. Whereas, you know, over on this side they are, but if I push it back a bit, they're not quite. So I want where the wires are touching. And so I'm going to push that through. And so we're going to go 1, around both, and then 2 around both. And now from here, I'm going to do probably 10 more stitches because, no, 5 is going to look really nice, and I like the consistency. 4 and 5. And then pulling 1, 2 around both, and then 1, 2, 3. I've bent that up to try to keep the wires parallel. Oh, I can't tell how many that is. If you're like me and your eyesight's not what it used to be, good lighting makes a huge difference, and also the zoom on a camera, well, can be very blurry apparently. Can we get a focus out of that? No, we can't. There we go. But sometimes zooming in quite far can help you count your stitches. Yep, that's just 3. So then 4 and 5. I use my cell phone like a magnifying camera. Then 1 around both. 2 around both. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm starting to consider how our wing shape, how this is going to be filled. Yeah, we'll do one more. One more set of 2 around both. And so much of this depends on your personal preference and how big your wings are and the shape of them. Ooh, and 5 is just a nice round number, so I do think I'm going to try to fit 5 in here for this. Uh-oh, I didn't need to go through that time. So there's 1, 2 around both, keeping it nice and snug. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to go, whoop, almost got a kink. Let's unkink that. There we go. There's 1, 2, and then now we're gonna go, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excellent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Just smushing and squishing, getting everything lined up. Let's go ahead and take our flat nose pliers. No, if I did that right now, it would bend this wire, so I'm going to wait. So now, y'all, this is not an easy project. Like, ooh, it's okay. We can do this. I'm debating, do I do the same thing on the other side? Or do I get this completed and get this obnoxious wire out of the way? I'm going to get the wire out of the way because that sounds more fun than symmetry. So I'm just going to take this and I'm just bending it itsy bitsy spiral style. So just pressing my fingertips together and bringing that around, and then I'm going to bring it back out straight. And there's a little bit more of a curve to it than I would have liked, so I'm going to bend it this way a little bit just to clear the path, and then I'm going to smush with my flat nose, getting my weaving wire. I'm going to go ahead and get that oriented out of the way, but just to get that wire flat again. Okay, so now we're going to go, there's one around both, and then two around both, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to feed that through our wing. And then 1, and 2 around both. You're doing great, you guys. If you're hanging in there with me, keep going. Trust the process. And if it's terrible, embrace it. You may never be this bad at wire wrapping ever again, because progress comes from practice. Practice makes progress, y'all. And the more you stick with this, if you're having fun, if you're enjoying yourself, if you have a passion in your heart for making things and you want to do this, you can. And you'll get better and better all the time. And if it's terrible, that just means you have that much more room to grow. What fun is there if we start out masters at everything? Because whenever you enjoy it, practice feels like play. And I'm so glad y'all joined me here to play today in our craft rooms. 3, 4, and 5. And so now we can coil just a little bit more. There's 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And so I'm going to take this and I'm going to bend just until it comes to parallel. So that was 15. So let's go ahead and knock it up to 20. So there's 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Yep, that brings it to parallel. And I'm just going to stitch through the center of our wing. We're so close to being done with this wing, you guys. Uh-oh. I stitched around my wire. That's okay. We'll just open it up until we can get it set right back on course. And there's 1. Oh, heck, I didn't even go around them. Alright, so there's 21 on that side. I won't remember, but there we go. Okay. There we go. Wrapping once around both. And then trying to stack. There we go. Wrapping twice around both. And then I'm going to bring this back up and through so that it is on the correct side of our wing wire. And then we're going to go, so it's 1 full wrap, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And stay tuned, you guys, for a future tutorial where we do a variation of this with the sticker UV resin wings. Okay, and so now we're going to come through. And I'm trying very hard to avoid doing figure 8s just because I want all of this to just be ladder stitches for no reason other than I make up these arbitrary rules that I try to follow like all of the time, and then I deviate from them. But it's just like little personal challenges that it's like, oh, I'm going to try to do this piece this way, and it doesn't really matter, but I have fun. Maybe it's that I like breaking rules, so I'll just make up my own rules and then break them and then be like, oh no, anyways. Who knows? So I'm gonna try to make a little bit of space there so I can get this on the correct, yes. So this is what I'm going for. I really wanted this wire on the inside part of the wing, and it can be really tricky to do that for me with like if I were to try to just whip it around. So I'm going to place my thumbnail to keep it from back. Oh heck, I wrapped around that goofy wire again. It's okay. I'm going to make sure I didn't wrap around that one as well. Okay, now we're going to pull it through. But I wanted those wires to be able to be sitting next to each other. And now we're going to go 1. So we did 2. I like that. And then 2, 3, 4, 5. But yeah, so I did 5 stitches, 3 stitches, 2 stitches around both wires. And then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I know I said not to do that, but here we go. Ooh, smushed it down. But the closer, 2, 3, 4, 5, the closer together I can get these little stitches, the less space I'll have to cinch down. So that was 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and a skull-ish. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. This wire's getting in my way, so I'm just gonna off to the side again. Oh, I've lost count. Oh, I think that was 20. I don't know. I'm just gonna eyeball it. 2, 3, 4, 5. One, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Squish and smush. So I'm going to try to get to at least the top of the bead with the coiling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and squish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and squish. So if any of y'all know how many stitches this is, let me know in the comments. So I'm just kind of tightening everything down with my pliers. And I'm going to do like, I'm going to stop right there. It's flush with the tip. And so, whoop, I'm going to come in and I'm going to just snip that real close to our core wire. And then I'm going to smush that end down with my pliers just to cinch it. And then I am going to trim this about 5 millimeters past where the coils stopped. We can always trim off more, but I think that's going to be reasonable. And this is a perfectly decent piece of scrap wire that I'm going to put into a pile on my desk and then ignore, as opposed to putting it into a box for melting down scrap and then ignoring, because I still don't know how to melt down my scrap. But that's okay. We got this. But I'm leaving it that length, that way I can make certain that the other side matches before making the little wing spiral. Okay. So now it looks like we did 10 coils, and it looks like we only have 5. So time to make these symmetrical, y'all. So there's 6, 7, scooching our pliers out of the wires line of movement, 8, 9, and 10 maybe. And then we're going to start, and the more important thing for me, aside from the counting, is are the wires parallel? How does it look? Because when the piece is complete, very rarely, like I have never experienced in person at least, somebody coming through and counting my stitches. It goes more off of how it looks. It's art. It doesn't need to be perfect. So there's 2 around both, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And just to show you again, we're doing 5 around both wires on the top part of the wing with 5 coils in between, and then rounding that curve with, I think, looks like 10 coils and then doing 3 around both. With 5 coils in between, rounding that edge with either 15 or 20, I don't recall, and then just 2, and then doing like a whole bunch. So we're just repeating that on this side. And I'm going to attempt to do this zoomed in case that is helpful to you. But wire wrapping is challenging. Wire wrapping by not looking at it with my eyeballs, but only looking at it through a camera, is challenging too. So, but we're good at doing hard things, you guys. We can do this. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And what's more is we can give ourselves the grace to not be perfect. We can give ourselves some room to be human and to have fun and to just enjoy ourselves. Because if we're not having the fun, what's the point? Like, if wire wrapping's not your bag, that's okay. Find something that is. 1, 2, 3. I hope we have enough space. We'll see. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then 1 and 2. Can we fit one more? We'll try. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now if my wire were to break, I would backtrack myself to a point where we were only at 2 additional wires. So what I mean by that, I'll show you. Ooh, that worked out really well. I'm holding in here and then pulling down on the wire that away. But I'm going to go, there's 1, and there's 2, and then I'm going to go, like if I were running short on wire, I would get myself to this point that we have the 2 stitches, and then I would snip where the wire is being pinned between the 2 wires. So I would snip it towards the front, and then I would do 2 wraps with the wire coming from the back, just following the same pattern. I mean, I really don't want to cut my wire. I have demonstrated it in other videos, but I don't know which one, but I'd snip the wire and then I would splice it in. Like, let's pretend like this is the new wire. I would bring this wire in from behind and just make it behave as though it were continuing the weave around. And then I'd continue coiling. I do hope that helps. I don't know. Heck, I'm just going to snip it and show you. So if my wire broke in a less than opportune place, I would unwrap until I got back to this point. Because the wire never breaks when you want it to. This is how much I love you guys, by the way, is I just cut that wire. That perfectly good wire. And again, I'm going to be careful to not smush this right now, because I don't want to bend our core just yet. And this is a really tricky spot for this because it's on a bend, so there's going to be a little bit of a split, but it'll be what it is. And so I'm going to give myself just a little bit of tail. Ooh, this is actually going to be really nice because now I can bypass having to stitch and be weird. So I'm going to come down here and we're going to do the 10 coils. No, just 8 coils, because I already did the 2. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Give it the old squishy smush. And now if I were repeating the pattern, I would have just done 2 coils. But I'm going to get this real nice and positioned. And I'm leaving my tail wire on. And I'm just smushing that down into place. But I'm leaving that tail wire on because I want to be able to add tension without it slipping my stitches. If I were to snip it and then pull on this, it's going to undo my coils. So now we're just gonna, oh, we did this one like an itsy bitsy, I think. So holding between my fingertips, I'm just gonna smush like that. Sound effects are definitely helpful, unless they're not. And then we have paying attention to the distance or the direction our wire wants to travel. And then I'm going to get this little bit of tail wire just out of the way. And then we're going to re-straighten that so that it's parallel. So there's 1, 2. Pushing this through again, and then I'm going to do the 5 wraps around this, but I like to change direction just so. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now I feel like I have this stabilized well enough that I can come in and give a little tug on this and see if maybe I need to stitch it through, or if I can stitch it through. And this is another instance to be like, okay, which side do I want to be the front? I think I prefer this side, so I'm going to have my wire exit towards the back. That works perfect, because sometimes the snipped wire will leave a little bit of like a flash end, because it's flat. And so I'm just going to squishy smush that down. And so ideally the wire wouldn't break and we wouldn't have to worry about this at all, but sometimes these things happen and it's good to know what to do, you know, as an alternative to just scrapping the piece. Like, there's always a way to turn it into something else if we let go of our need for perfection and if we let go of our expectations. Sometimes it's going to be what it's going to be, and that's wonderful too. Sometimes I've been lucky enough to stumble into something really amazing whenever I'm doing, you know, working on a piece of art and enjoying myself, and you know, I mess up, and then if I just go with it, oftentimes it becomes something that I love even more than my original idea. You know, sometimes we're beautiful because we're broken. So now we're going to do the 5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're just going to do 3 stitches on this edge of the wing, so I'm just bringing through. So there's 1 and 2, feeding it through again though, so we can have the wire positioned so that it goes around the wing wire as we want it to. Oh, and this is where we do like 15 or 20, right? Yeah, I think it ended up being 20. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, don't forget to breathe, 8, 9, and 10. Ugh, yeah, we're definitely gonna need 20. 11, yeah, see, if I get sloppy, that's what's going on. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And if it turns out that we only needed 15, why, we can just uncoil 5 of the stitches and it'll be just fine. We curve that around. Oh yeah, that's looking so cool, you guys. Oh my gosh. Wait, that kind of looks, well, anyways. So now we're going to do the 2 stitches around both, paying attention again to the direction our wire is traveling. And we're going to go like 1 and thread it through. And then we're going to do our 5 stitches, 5 coils, whatever you want to call them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. My hands are all sweaty. I'm so nervous and excited, and I can't believe how this is coming out. And I hope I do a good job, you guys. I hope I'm helpful to you. I hope that even if you don't follow along with the project, I hope this inspires you for something else that you're working on. I hope it inspires you to relax a bit and enjoy what it is that you're doing. Because I know a lot of our community, y'all are small business owners too. Y'all, you know, whether it's a side hustle or whether it's your main line of work, you know, sometimes trying to make a living off of something can suck a bit of the joy out of it. And with some mindful practice, you can relight that spark of joy and really feed your passion. Remember why you fell in love with something and wanted to make a business out of it to start with. Okay. Oh, y'all know what time it is. I'm gonna bend this off a little ways. So I'm gonna need to back up. But I'm gonna bend this. Be real careful, you guys. And I'm gonna get some coils going. Why, hello, Ember Cat. You wanna say hey to everybody? You must have just woke up. Say hello. She hates me. Okay. Well, watch out for your cat. But since we're not counting the coils on this one, pay attention to the helicopter is gonna need to go this way. So we're gonna, well, there's not quite enough weight on it. So I'm gonna put a bead on the end and I'm just gonna bend it around and hope that I don't break anything. I just needed a little bit of weight on there. But so help me, I'm tired of coiling. Oh, it's a tangled mess. I haven't done this in so long, you guys. So it is gonna help us to hold on to the end of that wire and then to just get that helicopter going. There we go. Get it spinning. Having that little bit of counterweight really helps. And then we can just come in and smush to see how much more we need. Just a few more coils. So, oh, that was so nice and fast though. Alrighty, so I only need like a few more coils going on here. There we go. Just to get it, trying to get them up to the same length. There we go. Some mush. Oh, that's a little too far, so I'm going to take off like 3. Looking good. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just do your best until you're pleased. And that's certainly good enough. Okay, also I need to take this counterweight bead off. There we go. And now we're going to trim this. It keeps springing out to a little past. So I'm going to just snip like 3 more stitches off. Just that little bit. I just got in there and snipped it, sliding that off the end. And then what we're going to do is we will retighten that loose end down. And then we're going to snip kind of in line. And now with our round nose pliers, and I always get so nervous on this part, I want to make our loops be the same. So I'm going to get as close to the tip of my pliers and as close to the tip of my wire as I can. It's perfectly normal and natural if your pliers slip off. So there's one side, and then there's the other side. And this is the first step in the symmetry, and you can see they already don't match. So it's easier to try to uncoil it and do it again to where they do match at this step. Now that's pretty close enough. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. Alrighty, y'all, I've taken a little bit of a break, got some food in me, relaxed a little bit, let my hands have a rest, and now we get to see if we can make spirals. And I'm going to warm up just to make sure that I still know how to wire wrap, because you never know. Okay, yeah, we can do spirals. We got this, I hope. Good luck, everyone. Alright, so we're going to get in there. And I'm just grabbing kind of opposite of where the tip of our loop is. And this isn't super important that you grab it there. I'm just taking note so I can try to do it the same on the other side. And then I am just rotating this around, being careful to make sure that I'm not squeezing the heck out of my wire. And I'm just positioning it around and supporting from behind with the pad of my finger. That came out so good. Okay, let's see if we can do it again. Good luck. And this is tricky because I've got to turn it the other way. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to grab there. And I want to zoom out actually so you can see the position of my hand. Like, I am pretty extremely palm away from me because I want to be able to do this in one fell swoop. And just slowly bringing it around. Oh my gosh. Wow. Now you can see the spacing. Well, maybe you can see. The spacing is not that great. So I'm just going to get in there and go like, bonk. Okay, so that repositioned it. But now my pliers made a little split in the wire. So I'm just going to bring that out some. And I'm going to poke it with my fingernail to get it to be evenly distributed. There we go. It broke off some of my fingernail, but that's fine. So just remove the organic human crud from the piece. Oh, that looks so neat. All right, and now we get to figure out, I'm going to be honest, this has turned out way better. Way better than I imagined, and I am so pleased with it. But now I'm even more nervous, but that's okay. We can do this. So let us pull this up and refigure this out. So that's going to be looking pretty cool. So I don't want this to get like bulky in and around the bead. So I'm thinking we're going to bend out that frame. And I am going to use my nylon jaw pliers to bend kind of in an upward angle, just running it through the jaw of my pliers and bending up and away. And that's going to establish we have a nice clean line. If I had a paper, I'd draw that on there. And then, you know, trace it, but I'm just gonna, well, if you don't have a ruler to measure things by, maybe we can use something else. So I'm gonna use my hand, and I'm gonna grab with 2 fingers, just 2 fingers wide, and again keeping my pliers on the side that's moving, and I'm gonna bend out. Now this is not the angle that we're going to stay with for the whole time, but that's okay. So again, 2 fingers. And then we can eyeball it and adjust, but I'm just going to trust the process. I'm going to bend that out. Now I am going to go ahead and smush these wings with our nylon jaw pliers, just because we can, and I hadn't yet. Oh, wow. I'm tickled pink, y'all. Oh man. From one side it didn't look so bad, but now, man, those are really different. So I think I'm going to try to make it longer. So again, we just bend that straight and then bend it back down. Yeah, that's a much more acceptable margin of error. And now I'm going to do a finger width wide from that bend, and we're just going to bend it in like that. So now I'm going to come over here, do a finger width wide, and I'm going to bend it in like that. Y'all, measuring would be a really good idea. But I am living proof, y'all. You do not need to be perfect to be having a good time. There we go. And now this one I'm going to hold. I'm going to break my own arbitrary rules again. I'm going to hold on the side that's stationary, and I'm going to bend up. And I'm just doing like 2 plier nose widths. Now I do want my wires ending up on the same side of the bug though. So there's that. And now I'm going to come in here about right there. And I'm choosing the wire that's more on top than the other. And I'm going to bend up. Just like that. And I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to grab about right there. And I'm going to bend up. Just like that. I had an idea. Now we are going to go ahead and I'm going to take this little bit of scrap wire from earlier, and we're going to go ahead and get the antenna figured out. So I'm just pulling it nice and straight. So I think I'm going to need to bend that down, and I'm going to bend that down to be kind of matching. Oh, that's neat. And I'm going to take my mandrel, I'm going to come here in the center, and I'm going to bend this around. And I'm going to thread this onto my bead, but first I'm going to open it like this. I'm going to thread that through, and then I'm going to bring it back down I don't know if that's how I want this, because I kind of really wanted it to be like where the wires are on the inside coming out. So maybe if I bring this around this way, I'm experimenting, risking ruining my wire, but it's not going to be ruined. It'll be fine. That's dramatic. It's not going to catch on fire, mostly. So, worst case scenario is it'll be bent up a little. And then I'm just going to hold it. And I'm just going to run it straight with the pliers again. But now that's stabilized around the bead. I think that's going to be nice, hopefully. I just want something to make sure that the bead will stay like centered up. And I'm not going to bother trimming these wires just yet because I think I'm going to need the full length of them, and I'd rather give myself the options farther on down the line. Oh my gosh, this is actually coming together. Okay. Whew, it's okay. So now I'm going to let that just fall to the back so it can be kind of just weird. I'm going to go ahead and do another 10 feet of this 28 gauge wire. And I'm going to find the center of it by lining up the ends. And it doesn't have to be like picture perfect, but it doesn't have to not be either. And so now, well, all right, I'm dropping the middle, and I'm going to thread it on through the bead. Because I want to show you what I want to do is I want to join these little spots here. And then I'm just pulling the wire. Okay, so now we have lined the ends up. And I want to hook around that side before I do this. I've made the decision that I'm not going to have, if I wanted any of this wire to be like very coiled, I should go ahead and do it before binding off these ends, because otherwise I'm going to have to hand sew it all. There won't be any easy coiling and then bringing it around, but I think that'll tie in really nicely, and I think that'll be all right. So now I'm going to take, and I'm going to position this wire, all 5 odd feet of it, off to the side. And I'm going to take my right hand wire. You do whichever side you like to work on first. That part's not real important. And then I'm just going to pull that through. And I don't know if we're going to be able to see into the center. Let's see. If I turn this light on, does that help at all? But this wire is coming through just wrapped around, not figure eighting, just ladder stitching. And then I'm going to hook around this one. Ember, my kitty, has taken interest in our wire wrapping today. Well, hey baby, what you doing? You gonna get it? You're a menace. And then pulling through, trying really hard to only be bringing these 2 lobes of wing together. So keeping this bit of wire out of our way if we can. How did that fall through the wing? Okay, so I'm trying to keep it just around these 2. And I'm going to do, I think, 3 little stitches like this. actually just feeding through. Going nice and slow, making sure there's no twists, or as few twists as possible. Oh no, oh I'm so sorry y'all, I'm gonna zoom back out. Okay, so I've just threaded through. I do not mean to go out of frame, y'all. And then just hooking around that, again, because we're doing this same style of stitch right there. I was today many years old when I figured out I can turn the flash feature on my phone while I'm recording, because that's what I use for my camera for all my tutorials. I'm not particularly tech savvy, and I don't super enjoy having to learn how to use new equipment, so camera phones make it super duper easy to just point and click and record. Like, I barely even know how to spell DSLR cameras, like, so I don't know how to use one. And, well, I'd rather be crafting than learning new equipment, so, okay. So we have that pulled together. It's just 2 stitches, but I think that'll be enough. Okay, keeping those ones isolated off to the back. You know, I am going to go ahead and do the 3 stitches, just 'cause. Threading through, keeping it from tangling. And now feeding back, I had the wire in my mouth, now feeding back through to the other side. Uh-oh, and this one's all kinds of crazy. Uh-oh, don't want that kink in there. Okay, so there's that. Again, our antennae are nice and free. Wow, we're doing it. And I'm gonna start coiling. I'm gonna turn off that. I don't know, that does kind of really help. Hopefully it doesn't fry my phone out. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, I've changed my mind. I'm going to undo these stitches, and the wire that I added to be the antenna is actually going to be the wire that goes inside our wings. But I need it to be much longer. So I'm going to snip it. Boop. And we're going to do that again, but much longer this time. Because I want there to be enough wire for us to do like a full spiral. So this is way more than what I need. It's another like 1.5 feet. I want to see if we need to do that loop first. I mean, it gave it like a really nice clean look. But yeah, and then these 2 wires will be the antenna. And I'm going to trim this one down to match the shorty. There we go. I mean, sometimes you've just got one wing that's bigger than the other. That's fine. Do we even need? Ah, I did kind of like it. Okay. So we'll bring that around. Bringing this around. Around town. Around town. There we go. Don't forget to tickle my like button if you're into the video. If you're not into the video, why are you watching? You clicked on my face. I kind of want to do a second loop. Yeah, let's go for it. So again, making sure I'm stacking it towards the back, not going through any of the wings. Just pulling down. There we go. Yeah, I like that with the 2 loops. It feels nice and substantial. I'm going to have it towards the front of the wing. And now, so these 2 here are the wires that we just added. And I am going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Squish as far in as we can go. And I do want to bring that wire to where it is parallel to the top of our wing. And so I'm just going to take and kind of encourage it with my pliers. Because if that twist has to happen, if there has to be a crossing of wires there, I want it to happen inside the bead. Okay. And so I'm going to get 1 wire stitched through. And then here's our second wire. Dog fur is always free. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1 and 2. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then 1 and 2. Trying to make sure I'm not getting these wires crammed too close together. Well, yes, baby. Well, come and get the wire then. Yeah, okay. What a good kid. But I want to be able to fit the wire in between still, so I don't want those where it's 2 wires around both of them. I don't want that being too tight. 3, 4, and 5. Yeah. I'm almost done, baby. I'll give you some pets. Yeah. And then, oh, I've got to let her up. Okay, and then we'll do 2 around both. There's 1. And then 2. Feeding through. And then 1, 2, 3. She has come to visit. 4, and 5. And then there's 1. Oh. Yeah, who's a good kitty? And 2. Well, and just like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so I just kind of want to fill up this top wing as much as I can. And so there, ooh, wait. I should be doing the antenna right now as well, because I could be attaching them. How did we want to do that? Let me check our reference image. Okay, so there wasn't going to be a huge up swirl. So I like just pressing against the wing, or against the wire rather. Okay. So now I'm gonna go the same distance out, snip, and snip. And we're gonna take our round nose pliers. And again, I'm gonna try to make my loops exactly the same. There's loop 1. And there's loop 2. Those are kind of close. And now I'm going to grab it opposite of where the wire snipped end is, just to kind of shape this around. And I think I just want that much of a curl to the antenna. Just shaping that a little. Well, it seems as though I had remembered just in time for it to be kind of weird. That's fine. So on this one, I'm going to go 1, and then I'm going to sew through it. Oh, there we go. And 2, and then 3. So that's just one little wire holding them together, but I really do think that's going to be just fine. And if you don't think it's going to be fine, you could do 2 or 3 stitches in between, joining those layers. But I'm not going to be having any weight being borne from those wires, so like I'm going to turn this into a necklace by joining it off the ends, I think. So 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then there's 1 and 2. The magical art of clearing off my work surface. Oop. Oh, and it's a nightmare up there, y'all. Like, I haven't gone through that pile in ages, so we'll just stay over here. Like, why do I have just bottle caps and like some old bread? Yeah. Oops. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then around both, we're going to go 1, and 2. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Weird little scuzzy bits of fingernail getting chipped off. And then, yeah, wire wrapping is hard on the fingernails, y'all. So if you're noticing that, you are not alone. Uh-oh, got a kink in the wire. So when that happens, I just open it back up and then kind of burnish it out with said abused fingernail. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then around both again. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And truly, y'all, we're just repeating the same kind of concept as what we did here on the lower, smaller wings. So there's 1 and 2. Now the bend is going to be a little more gradual. In fact, we could start just that curve like that. And now that they've stopped being parallel, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And that kind of brings it around. I'm going to do a few more. 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And then I'm going to go and I flip my work a lot, y'all. I do not keep a consistent front and back as far as regards to which angle I'm working from. So I hope that that's not confusing y'all. 3, 4, 5. So I think I'm going to do 3 on this side. There's 1 and 2. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then 1 and 2. But I'm going to go ahead and start curving it. I'm going to feed through. Now this curve may only take 15, and I'm going to flip my work again just cause there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And so I'm just curving it to fit inside of there. And I'm going to see if we can compress that down a bit, because I'd really like to be able to fit 2 over here. So there's 1, and there's 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can we fit it? Let's find out. Yes, we can. Heck yes. There's 1. And there's 2. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now we're going to need 15 on that full show. Okay. Whew, my fingers feel all bumbly and tired. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So let's take a minute to just stretch our hands. By a minute, I mean a brief second, but I am compelled, y'all. I want to get this done. I'm so excited. And so now, do I come in? How far do I come in? Thinking. So I think I'm going to do something with just a bit more of this wire. I'm just going to pull off a full arm span of it. Well, there goes another thing off my desk. But what I'm going to be doing, and it's important that I want it to be coiled in the same way that I've been coiling. So my wire's traveling like this, so I'm going to leave my tail going off that away. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and we're going to squish it. And we're going to incorporate that tail wire in. Just waste not, want not, you know? Smoosh. And then I'm going to smush it so it's nice and tidy. And then I'm going to keep on coiling. I'm not bothering to count now, just going. Trying to make sure we get those coils side by side. Smush. And I'm going to slide this down and I'm going to test. I need to double that. So coil, coil, coil. I like working off the end of the wire like this whenever I can because it makes me feel like I can just get it done pretty quick. I don't often utilize drills in my work, like drilling to make my coils and stuff, but you could totally coil this on a drill, slide it off. As long as your core wire is the same size, you shouldn't have any issues. But I like hand coiling. It's very meditative. It zens me out, man. Like, I love it. Yeah, that's plenty, and that used up about half of our wire. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to continue coiling up the rest of this wire, and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. Just continuing that coiling going. Now I might run out of space. Heck, I didn't think of that. No, we'll be good. Just making those coils. Just keep coiling, just keep coiling, coiling, coiling. What do you do when you wire up? Do. Oops. You get silly is what. Just getting that coiled all the way around. Compressed it down. If it starts to get lumpy on you, just cinch it. What I mean by that is just twisting it to tighten. So my thought process here is that I could get it all coiled on one side, and that would be as though we had made this on a drill. Binding off this last little bit. Because if nothing else, I do want these two coils to be the same, more or less the same size. And by that I mean we're going to take this one long one that we've made and we're going to cut it in half. So I'm going to slide this off the end, and this is just like how it would be if we had a drill, y'all. We'd just slide our coil off. You want to be very careful to not compress this at all. And I'm going to lay this up against the edge of my work surface because I have a ruler there. 2, 3, 4, so that's about 5 inches. So at like the 2.5 inch mark, I'm just going to grab this and snip. And so we have our 2 pieces of coil, and I'm going to slide this, just running my fingers very loosely. You have to be very tender-handed, like gentle-handed with this. There we go. And we slid that right on over. And then whenever it comes time, we can slide this on over on this side, which I think we can at least store it there. We may need to scooch it, but we'll deal with that when we get there. It can be a little tricky to get the tip started, but once you get it in, you just slide it on down. I'm just going to leave it right there. That way we don't lose it or crush it or something. Whew. Okay, so now, very exciting part. We get to try to splice it in. And what I mean by that is I'm going to wrap around this way. And I'm going to bring this in, and we're just going to skip one little boom. Do you see how we hooked one little wire? Well, I didn't really think ahead too far on this, because now it's going to be super complicated. Ooh, all the way up. Though really it might be kind of cool for us to just keep splicing, but I don't really feel like that matches anything else in the design. So I'm going to unwrap that. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to leave it there, but we're going to rotate it. We're going to bend this out just a little. This wire for the other side needs to mind its own business. So I'm going to scooch it off over yonder. There we go. Alright. And so now from here, I'm just going to bring this around. And it's pretty tight, but we can open it up and get that wire in there. This first one's going to be tricky each time. And I don't want to bend our wing, but I do want to open that up. Ah, there we go, and it fits right in. So there's one. Nudging it with my fingernail. There's two. Not quite. Gotta get it lined up. Ah, there it goes. And then 3. You see how it starts to just disappear? And I'm just going to do the 3, and then I'm going to bend it into place, and we're going to wrap around both. So there's one. Pulling that wire through. And then making sure, and this can be very, very tricky, you guys. You don't have to do this part this way, but I wanted all of this to be coiled, and I wanted this to be coiled. So there's 1, 2. Coming back around. I'm going to rotate it again. And then, and I think I'm just going to do 3 on this. So we're bringing that around, making that space, bringing that through, boop, there's one, boo, get in there. Let's not be discouraging to ourselves. Let's say, keep at it, you can do it. Even if you have to keep trying. If you haven't tried talking nice to yourself today, you might want to try it. You never know, it might work. Berating ourselves doesn't get us where we want to go. If criticizing ourselves doesn't improve our results, maybe try something else. I've lost count. I'll do one more for good measure. Okay, so there's that. And so just smushing that back out to it, and now we're going to go, there's one. And there's that. And now I'm going to start just coiling down that center part. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to bend it kind of up and out of the way. Well, we can test it. Do we want to do that? Because that leaves it quite naked. I don't think we're going to do that. I mean, you can on yours, but I want mine to be a little more filled in, I think. So I'm going to keep bringing it down. So here on the back side, I want to make sure that my wire is protruding, and I'm just going to nestle it in where I want it to go. Oh, but I hooked 2 wires in between instead of just the one, so now I'm going to move that over, and I'm going to hook it, and then make it tight. There we go. And then I'm going to bend that open, and then there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. And since it's kind of skipping a spiral, or skipping a coil each time, it's actually giving us like a 2-6 pattern instead of a 2-5, like how we have farther up here. But I think that'll be okay. And now I'm bringing that around. And then bringing that around. Feeding it through. Now I'm going to bring that open. Bringing it around town. Two, 3. Bringing it back in line. Let's give these hands a break, y'all. Alrighty, I'm on a little bit of a time crunch today, so I can't take as much of a break as I would have liked, but that's okay. Some break is better than no break. We're gonna zoom back in just a smidge. And we're getting real close. I mean real close. And I really like being able to use this camera as a like eyeball assist, a magnifying glass. Gives like a +10 to seeing. And so trying to just nestle it in between. Did that come in? Didn't quite. Let's get one more stitch over. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. And I do really like this stitch, y'all, this weaving technique, because I can prototype out a design, and we can always try adding more wires to this and doing more complex weaving patterns in the future. But it also makes it really easy to be able to force some semblance of symmetry, because even though the wings are not geometrically perfect, matching each other, not even in the slightest, there's 3 on each side there, there's 2 on each side here, there's 5 on each side there. And so we'll be able to utilize that same concept, not just for being able to count to keep easy track while we're making it, but it kind of tricks the eye into accepting a higher level of symmetry perhaps than what is there. At least on my smooth brain. I am easily tricked. Gives the illusion of symmetry. So there's 1. And there's 2. I'm going to do 1 more up into here, I think, and then I'll finish it off with coils. So again, just trying to get that open so we can get our wire in there. If you're having difficulty, sometimes checking on the back side can help you see what's up and see where the issue is. Boo. What was it we had just talked about, Vaughn? Being more patient and pleasant with ourselves. None of this boo stuff. Looks like we got it. So there's one. And there's that one's kind of crossed over, so we'll just push that back up. There we go. 2. And 3. Huzzah! And then this is our last one, you guys. And then I'm going to have a right and proper break. Like a 5-minute break. Oh, I think I know what I'm going to do. Because I just noticed there's a little more here than what I want. And so, okay, so we did that. Do I do one more? I'm going to do one more. Let me have a break so I don't get impatient. Alrighty, y'all, let's get back to it. It's when I'm tempted to make shortcuts. That's when I'm like, no, I need to go ahead and take a break. And we've come too far to start taking shortcuts now. I'm going to try to get that nice and lined up. Then whoop. Oh, that was so nice. And then 2. And then 3. Relining that back up. And bringing this around. There's 1. And then there's 2. Trying to make sure that we don't get things crossed. There we go. Oh my gosh. Wow. And now I'm going to sew this up and through right here to fill in this gap. So there's 1. I'm going to turn this. Then there's 2. There's trying to keep things from getting tangled. 3. And then 4. And then, oops, bumping the tripod cord. Now, y'all, I'm really not a patient person, but I am practicing to be more patient. Patience is something we do have to practice to get better at, just like anything else. But I tried to out fixate on being zoomed out and like, oh my god, this project is going to take forever. Instead, I try to fixate on zooming in and trying to do each individual thing that it is that we are doing as well as I can to give it my full attention and to just let it kind of push anything else out of my mind. Okay, so now here for the first time, all project. I'm going to figure eight it. And what I mean by that is I'm protruding out this way. I was going to come around the back side like this, just to try to keep them I don't want it crossing over on what I think is going to be the front side, but this figure eight is a nice way of just bringing those two wires together. And you can see that's the wire that we've just added, but I just prefer to weave in this direction, and so this way I can sew through and pull tight. Yep, so there's one. And I'm going to sew through the back like that. Swamp. And then sew through that away. Swamp. And sew through this away. There's three. And just sewing through. So if you're finding yourself getting impatient with your project, just take a deep breath and give yourself the encouragement that you would give a friend. Take a break if you need it, though. I mean, I'm not saying to beat yourself over the head with your own project, but it's going to feel really good when you get done. Because money can't buy that. There's some things in this world that we can only make. And that feeling of having completed a project, of having brought something into reality. You know, you turned wire and beads into something beautiful. Even if you don't think it's beautiful, somebody else might think it is. But you did that. And I've lost count now. And then just continue stitching through. I am digging the heck out of that. And this is just with two kinds of wire, y'all. Can you imagine the effects you might be able to get if you used a combination of 18 and 16 gauge for the frame and the wings? If you added in a little bit of hammering here and there. Now I'm going to say hammering can make the way that the wire slides be very tricky. So I would have just hammered the frame but not hammered these parts. But you could use some half round wire on some of these places. It can be a little tricky to do like this exact stitch that we're doing, where we're having to sew through on both ways. That's really difficult for me to do personally with half round wire, but man, it would look cool. And sometimes utilizing different materials while presenting different challenges can maybe be like, okay, well, if it doesn't work that way, then maybe we could try getting a similar design but built differently, so that the half round wire, you know, we bypass some of the challenges with the half round, but then we make other challenges in other ways. So we get to choose our battles sometimes. You know, we can kind of premeditate the design and choose which battles we feel like facing today. So coming through, just like that. we're getting real close now. I don't want that to kink, so I'm just keeping that loop open. I think I'm happy with that. But I'm going to leave that wire there because I can always decide to trim it later. And now we can change gears a little bit. And we can take this wire that's now not going to slide around all willy-nilly. And we can bend that quite firmly. Bonk, like so. Bonk, even more firmly. And then we can make it come a little more parallel. And I'm going to wait to trim that down because I want this side to match. As far as that goes. Oh boy, so now we get to tackle the other side. This is a doozy of a project. So let's see, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was on the 6th repetition of the pattern is whenever we join the antenna. So let's go 1. And I've got this slidey bit, the coiling that we added earlier, 2 out far enough that I'm not snagging it. 3, 4, and 5. And then I remember we had started with 10, so there's 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I'm going to get in there and make that twist happen. The bead hides much. So there's 1, 2, 'and then we're gonna go, I'm just flipping sides because I prefer this direction. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then stitching through. Whoop, getting tangled on stuff. Is that okay? Let's see, can I use these pliers? Will those give me a better result for that little bit of a bend? They seem to. There we go. I got a little bit of a bend that I need to straighten out right there. There we go. Uh-oh, it looks like I only did 1. Well, 1 loop around 2. So if we mess up, that's okay. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just uncoiling that. And now we can stitch through. So there's 1 and 2. And now we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Bringing these wires parallel. So then I'm going to go 1 and 2. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Getting that good and smushed. And then we've got 1 and 2. And then 1, 2, 3. Starting to get a little blister, but that's okay. 4 and 5. Sometimes I'll use like next care tape, but that's okay. So here's our 4th one, 4th repetition of the pattern. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then coming through with 1 and 2. And that's, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's on the 6th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh! So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then I'm gonna go just like before, 1 around both. Oh, we got a little kink in the wire. That's okay. Then I'm gonna just, there we go, trying to figure out how to get back in frame. Hook that around. So there's 2. And there's 3. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 repetitions of the pattern between the antenna and the wing. Hoo-wee! We're getting there. Oh, keep sticking my wire in the fan. Okay, so there. This is a feat of endurance, y'all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got another kink. I don't know if it's because I'm getting tired or because I'm overworking my wire or what, but however it plays out, I'm just going to keep rolling with these punches. So there's 1. And then 2. Give it the old smushy squish. There we go. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Oh, goodness gracious me. We keep getting these friggin' things. So it's 1, 2. Now we're gonna go full lump. There's 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're halfway there. Because as I keep breaking it down into little baby bite steps, I don't think of the whole piece right now. I'm thinking of between here and here. I got 3 more. We can do 3 more. There's 1. And 2. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we're gonna go 1 and 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright, this is the last one. And again, for the sake of the illusion of symmetry. I mean, don't get me wrong, true symmetry is like, chef's kiss. I'm not worried about it though. But for the illusion of it, we can just spread that out a little bit. And then we're going to go, how many was that? 20, I think. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Let's go wish. And that's what I get for my laziness, is a little bump in my wire. There's always trade-offs. Fast and messy doesn't always get me where I want to go. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Give it the old smushy squish. And then we're going to bend that gently around. Then we're going to go, we got to fit 3 on here. So there's 1 and 2. This wants to come back up through here. There we go, but under this wire. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Feeding that down and through. There's 1 and 2. Oh, I did it again. I didn't need to go all the way through. Oh, sometimes you just gotta slap the tripod. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to give myself a little more wiggle room by sliding that down. And then there's 1. I want to keep it on the inside of the wing frame. And there's 2, but I only want to come... Did I do something backwards? What's happening here? I did. Okay. It looks like I got tired and did like a little figure 8. So I'm going to back that up. I'm going to bring this. So that was, yeah, there's the 5th one. So bringing that through. Well, that's only 4. Oh, I do fear my wire breaking, but the fear of the pain is worse than the pain itself. There we go. I'm going to zoom back out just a smidge. So there's 1. And there's 2. Huzzah! There's 1, 2, 3, flipping my work, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, yeah, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, some mush. And now we're just going to bend this gently. And we're going to feed through the center there. I think we only needed 15 now that I'm comparing to the other side. So I'm just going to uncoil 5. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Squishy smush, there we go. And now we feed through, because I want to fit 2. So there's 1. I'm going to go ahead and gently curve this just to get it to sit kind of where I need it to be. 2. Keep forgetting to not feed it through all the way on that last one. I'm going to zoom back out just because, y'all, I'm having a hard time staying in frame. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I hope we can fit it. So there's one. And there's 2. Okay. That looks like it may be 15 again. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. This wire's getting in my way. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Now I'm going to undo that last stitch because this is where I want my splicing to begin. And I'm going to zoom back in and I'm going to try my best, y'all. Be patient with me. I'm not going to zoom all the way in. There we go. And then I'm going to scrunch this up. And I want to check to make sure, and I'm checking the end here to make sure that my wire is going in the same direction as what this coil was made. Because otherwise they just will not cross into each other correctly. And that's not a fun battle to have. Okay, so threading through. Holding our splicing wire. There we go. That way it doesn't just run off on us. So there's 1. Pressing through. And there's 2. Pressing through. Whoops. And I just want to skip 1 wire. Boop. There we go. Woof. There's 1, 2. Hoo-wee. I'm going to feed that through, and then there's 1, 2, and then 3, one wing's always easier for me than the other, just because the angle of weaving, kind of, but that's okay. Challenges are for rising to, obstacles are for working over. So there's that one. Boop. There's 1. Two. Then threading through right there. And how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We only have 6, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we only have 6 more to do. And we've already done it this many times. There's 1. Two and 3, and then we'll bring that up, feed it through, keep everything in line, and then there's 1, and 2, chugging right along, y'all. So we're going to feed that up and through. And I want to bend this down again. 1, oh my gosh, that one went in so easy. What a blessing. Two, 3, bend it back into line. Now I have a concern here that our wire may just get funky, like this wire, and that's alright if it does. I'm going to gently try to realign it. Oh, we're almost halfway done with this little section. You know, I wonder if we can do a little bit of strategic bending just to make some more space for ourselves. There's 1. And there's 2. Feeding it through. Let's see. I'd hoped too many. There we go. And now it just becomes a game of who's more stubborn, me or the piece. Or rather, who has more willpower, me or me? There's 1. Count those blessings when the wire goes in right. There's 2. There's 3. And we're past the halfway mark. It's just going to get trickier from here, but that's all right. There's less ahead of us than behind us. So there's 1, or the first half of 1 rather. Oh no, y'all. I had goovied. Alright. okay. Well, there we go. It was only... No, it's farther back. Okay. Just undoing those stitches gently and patiently. Bringing that through. I'm going to feed this through now. Gently and calmly if we can. Yeah, that one didn't really go in though, did it? Okay. So there's that. Going and nestling in between. There's two. Going and nestling in between. Spreading the wires is not my favorite way to do this, but it's hard to argue with results. And we squish it back down. And feed through. Get that straightened back up. And get these remerged. I'm wondering why I didn't feel like I was having trouble with the bead getting in the way on the last wing. Maybe if I bend it this way. So there's one. Getting that rogue wire out of the way. There's one. And there's the second one. My eyes are tired and my hands are sore, but that's okay. We're getting where we're going. And we're bending that and nestling those wires in. There's one. There's two. Checking from both sides. And there's three. And then I like to bring it around again, flop, to feed through the back. Oh, boogie. I got two wires in between. Ho hum. This is okay. It's like just when you think you're a patient person, it gets tested, and that's alright. This is how we level up, and every level the skill gets harder and harder to grind. But it gets more and more worth it. There we go. That wasn't so hard to fix. It was worth it. And so now coming in, we got one, two, and three. Checking to make sure that our wire's doing well. Feeding on through. One, two, three, four, five. Three more, you guys. Whoo. And this wing feels so clunky and awkward for me, but that's alright. So there's one. Just trying to get it lining up our shot. Boop. There we go. Nestled in. Bending. Feeding that wire up and through. You can do it. You can. Practicing taking leaps of faith on ourselves is real good practice. So there's, let's see. Like, even if you don't believe you can do it, maybe try. Maybe prove yourself wrong. And scale back your criticisms to be more accurate. Maybe it's not a matter of, I can't do it. Maybe it's a matter of, I can't do it like this yet. Or maybe it's a, I'm having difficulty with this right now. Or maybe it's a, this is really hard for me and I need a break. Doesn't mean you can't do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So come on, y'all. Let's do that difficult thing together. So there's one. I think I jumped forward too many. There's one. Two. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more. We got this. Oh yeah, we got this. And then we get to do another thing. And then it'll be done. And that'll be awesome. Because then I can sit on the couch. One. Two. When it goes in easy and it seems too good to be true, I check the other side. Just because it's like, no way. No way that actually worked. But yeah, it seems to have. It's like, what was it, some bowling movie or something where the person goes and blows on, like, on their fingertips like I'm on fire. It's like, no, but I'm sweaty though. So there is one, and there is two. And then I actually like sewing from this angle, so I'm not going to figure eight on this side just because I don't feel like it's necessary, because I'm already coming out from the side that I want to be. Or am I? I am not. Okay. So I'm going to be threading this through like that. Kind of poking that with my fingernail just to get it lined up. Boop, slipped into place. Well, there's just going to be a weird little stitch there because I'm not entirely certain how to transition this without there being one weird little stitch. And it's just right there on one of the sides. Right there. That one little stitch. I think that's perfectly acceptable. So I'm going to thread through, boop. So I don't know how many of these we had done. Oh, that's right, we did 5. We bounded off with 5 first. Okay. Yeah, that 5 and then it came over. Well, that weird little stitch perfectly belongs. If I can get the wire through. There we go. So there's 1. There we go. There's 2. Let's keep it from getting tangled up. And there's 3. And there's 4. And there's 5. And now we get to whip stitch these 2 sides together. So there is 1. And this is just to add a little bit of stability between the top and bottom wing. And then there's 2. And there's 3. Well, this will be 3. No, wrong way. There we go. There's 3 little stitches. And I'm just going to hold that there like that for a moment because now we got to take this and make it match the other side. And I just want to kind of bend it down real far and then back up. That way it sits parallel. That's really coming along, isn't it? So I'm going to take this and just kind of go like that. There we go. So that's a smidge over 3 fingers. That's about 2 or 3 smidges. So I'm going to take off a little bit of this one by just separating those wires a bit, coming in and snipping, sliding that excess off the end. Smushing that down. And I'm going to come out just about 5 millimeters past where the 5 or 6, past where the coiling stops. There we go. And then I'm going to grab, and we're going to make that loop. And then I'm going to grab, we're going to make that loop. Let's try to keep all of our wires straight if we can. And I'm just gonna make a little spiral and see what happens. Yeah, I definitely like it closer to the tip. Now I'm going to come down this way. Now again, if things start getting out of alignment, I'm just going to squish them. And to get that same little bend, I'm going to spiral it in real tight, and I'm going to spiral it out some. I'm wondering, I feel like that's going to get snagged, you know? But I also bet it'll be all right. That's what we'll do. We're going to coil that up and find a way to bind it into this top corner. I like that a whole bunch. Okay, and now we have the plan, and now we can make it happen. So I do not think we need this additional wire here. So I'm trying to think of what a good way to terminate it would be. And I think what we're going to do is I'm going to come back through. Now this is the side where we've already completed all the coiling around both that we feel is necessary. So I'm coming around, and then I'm going to slide in between those two wires. There we go. The same two wires that we were lash stitching together. So I'm going to see if we can zoom in. So I've just added this wire right here that just wiggled around the one. And I'm going to come around here to the back side, and I'm going to snip it so that we have as little wire left as possible, and then I'm going to smush it. And there is no reason why that should ever get snagged on anything. So just give it the old squishy smush to your heart's content. My heart's pretty content. And we do free repairs on all of our work, so if anybody feels like we do shoddy work, you're more than welcome to purchase some and see for yourself. It's not that I think our work is indestructible, it's just I do my best and I stand by it. So there's 1, 2, 3. Scooch all these pliers because their handles just get tangled. They're in the path of the wire, so they're gonna get tangled. This is 3. 6, 7, 7.5. We're getting close. 8, 8.5, 9. If you're hearing some splashing, that's our fairy god turtles wrestling. 9.5. 10. And I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to try my darndest to get in between those wires that we just lashed together so well. And there's not a bit of space. We really got those together, huh? Well, this is where we can come in with a T-pin and try real hard to not poke ourselves. But I'm just going to put that T-pin right there. Let's see if we can zoom in. Now notice how few of my fingers I have below where the T-pin is going. That's on purpose. And I'm trying to not bend anything, but I'm just going to wiggle. Bending stuff anyhow. Maybe if we come in from the other side. I just don't know if there's any hope for us today, y'all. I'm not going to force it and risk damaging the piece. So what I am going to do is I'm going to try to figure eight this wire through here, as though we were doing another stitch. And then I'm going to come up past right there. And I'm going to go once, twice, and thrice around this little antenna wire. And I'm going to snip it real short. Boop. Not the antenna wire, but this weaving wire we've been working with. So I might have to pull it out just a little more. There we go. Snip. Snipped real short. And now I'm just going to kind of cram tuck this inside the bead. The bead hides much. And there's that. We've got one more step before we're like done though, y'all. And that is to get these very cool little eyes and the wings stabilized. So I'm just going to use some of our scrap wire from previously. I've got two like 16-inch segments. That's more than enough, hopefully. And I'm going to try my best to splice by just laying with quite a bit of tail wire in case we need it. There's one. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I only want to splice on like the thrice across here. So I'm going to feed this through. And I'm going to sew once. Let's use our pliers. 2. I'm aiming for 5. 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to smoosh that down that way. And I'm going to try to figure 8 this. So if the wire's protruding out, I'm going to come down and I'm going to hook behind our little spirally bit. And then I'm going to come up and I'm going to hook behind. Because the figure 8 nestles in and becomes concealed. And then I'm going to sew up and through from behind. And I'm pleased that I did not trim my tail wire, because now I can, you know, we're just going to leave it at 5. I was like, now we can sew it even more. No, I'm going to scooch it over and I'm going to fill it in. There we go. 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 might be where it's at, y'all. But before I trim it, I'm going to try to match it. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Smushing it up, trying to make space. 6, 7. I think the 6 is all I can fit, you guys. So for these ones, I'm now going to take my pliers and grab the end of it and just twist it around. I think I saw this on like a TikTok or something. Whoop, there we go, and it breaks off the little bit. Gets it in a little bit tighter than what I can with my wire snips sometimes. There we go. And I always make an effort to smush my ends anyhow, even if I can't feel them. I just want to make certain. So now we've got that stabilized. And we can do the same thing over here on the other side. So I'm just going to hook through right here. And there's, I can give myself a little bit more wire to work with. We don't have to be so stingy. 1, 2. Let's try zooming in, perhaps. 3, 4. Give it the old smushy squish. 5, 6, and 7. We'll squish that over. And let's see if we can get this figure eighted. So I'm just going to bring that in and tighten that up. or try to. I'm going to feed that through to the back. Poke. There we go. And then I'm going to sew it through. There we go. And then here we have one. I'm using my pliers again. My hands hurt and they're sweaty. And I'm going to trim this down significantly. There we go. Just to get a few less wires. Smaller movements are nice. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops, sorry. I lost count. I'm so tired. It's okay, we can do it. I've lost count, but I'm just going to keep stitching until I can't. Looks like I can't. That means we're done. No, I can do one more. One more for good measure. There we go. Oh, y'all. Oh, well, heck. There we go. Oh, goodness. I think we've done it. I think we did it, you guys. There's one side. Let's do some squishy smushing. Well, that's all right. I'm really pleased with this, you guys. Thank you all so much for keeping me company during this video. I really enjoyed making this, and I can't wait to see what y'all make with yours. Hey y'all, thank you so much for making this pendant with me. Like, I've had such a good, I'm exhausted and I'm tired and my hands hurt. But I am so happy. Y'all, oh my goodness. Like, about a year ago, I had made a prototype for this piece that was like a butterfly, and it was, what did the trolls call it? Amateur at best, but I am recovering from a hand injury, and this is, I'm like tickled pink, y'all. Like, I can't even. Like, this is, it feels really good to have my hard work be paying off and like be making the things that I had visualized that previously I couldn't make. It had been a long time since I had felt like a beginner at wire wrapping, but coming back from this hand injury really had me feeling like a beginner again. Just my strength was gone, my coordination was not what it used to be, and I had this vision that was so difficult to get to manifest into actual wire. And then these past couple of months at the time of recording, I've been diligently practicing my lampwork glass. So to be able to make lampwork glass for y'all for in our craft along kits has just been really, it's been really something else. Like, thank you to everybody who has been part of this crafty journey with my husband and I and our nieces and everything, and the way that the business has grown over these years. Like, oh my god, like, this is, I'm having a moment, you guys. Like, I know that this is just a wire wrapping tutorial, but it's a big deal to me. So thank you for being here. And we do new tutorials multiple times throughout the week. We do multiple live streams and all sorts of different things. You can find a calendar of events at backtoearthcreations.com. So whatever it is that we're up to, it's changing all of the time, but whatever it is that we're up to, you can stay up to date by signing up for our free newsletter, checking out our calendar of events, and finding us on whatever your social media of choice. We're on the TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on the Facebook, like we're here on YouTube. We stream on Kick currently. There's no telling what the future holds, but I can't wait to tackle it with you guys. And until then, I'll see y'all there, and happy crafting. Mwah. Bye.